very much for joining us, and a very happy new year to you. My name is Stephen Wolfson. I'm a Senior Relationship Manager at Century Business Solutions. I'll be going through our agenda today for our call, introducing myself a bit further, as well as introducing some other folks who are going to be presenting on this call as well. We're really excited to show you the Discharge application for Exact Macola. So we're going to talk about some of the features to that application, what it allows you to do, some of the processes they have today for accepting payments from your customers, and how this can streamline those processes. And we're all going to show kind of the application, what some of the benefits are, and we're also going to unveil a couple of features that we have as part of this solution as well. So again, thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so we can begin. So, like mentioned, I'm going to briefly go over our agenda. We're going to try to keep this as concise as possible and out of respect of your time. We are going to show you a full product demonstration of how the software works. It's going to be a 10,000-foot overview. So we're going to show you kind of the skeleton of how this credit card module works. After we've concluded this call, we absolutely love to get in touch with each of you one-on-one, find our exact sales process, point out specific areas where we might be able to help with this credit card module and go a little more into detail. But we'll give you an overview here. So I'm going to introduce you to everyone on this call. Then we're going to talk about the value of our EBiz Charge Suite application. After that, we're going to talk more in depth specifically about the product, what it is, what it does, how it can help you. Mr. John Brennan will be joining us at that point. He is going to pull up the card module on his screen and walk us through an actual sale and what that would look like for your organization. Then we'll move over and show the back end of our EBiz Charge reporting, so you can see where all your credit card transactions, after they have been processed through Exact Macola, where they settle, where you access your reports, where you're able to do transaction lookup, you can search for a particular charge, and much more. We'll also show our EBiz Charge Connect customer payment portal. Those of you who have customers who pay you on terms, if you have collections and receivables that are sitting out there, we have an easy, convenient way for your customers to log in remotely and pay those invoices down so you can get your money more quickly. Then with that, we're going to open the floor up for question and answer, so feel free to write down any questions you have as we're going through this. We're more than happy to answer those questions at the end of the call. So, mentioned, my name is Stephen Wolfson with Century Business Solutions. I work in tandem with Bryce Benecos, who's on our call today as well. We are kind of the dynamic duo for EBiz Charge for Exact Macola. If you're an existing customer and already using this solution, I'm sure you deal either with one of us, if not both of us already, and we're very happy to have you back. For those of you who are exploring this as a solution for your team, I look forward to chatting with more in detail and getting to know you a little bit better. John Brennan, who you see pictured in the upper right-hand corner, he'll be walking through the Exact Macola portion of our demonstration today. And then Gio from Century's support department, who show the back-end reporting, as well as the customer payment portal. So let's look at the EBiz Charge Suite for Exact Macola. Before I show it to you, let's point out a few things to be looking for, where we're hoping we'll be able to create some value for you. The value add. Right. Every company that accepts credit card payments from their customers, it's just part of the process. You accept a credit card from a customer. The reason they want to pay with a credit card probably is because they want their miles, their cash back, their points, whatever it might be. They're getting some sort of reward or benefit for using a credit card. They can pay off the charge later. They don't have to have the money come out of their bank account right away. Unfortunately, as a result of that, there are service fees and charges that get incurred when you accept that type of payment. You get with the bill for paying those customers their rewards. Right? So what we're intending to do is we want to create some additional value. Right? It's already an expense. It's the cost of doing business to have to accept credit cards. We want to make it easier for you to do so, give you the ability to take more time out of that process and rededicate it to other things. And we want to give you an easier way to run your business overall. To the point, we're at efficiency. I think you'll see once John starts to go through the application, the goal here is to cut out manual steps and reduce the potential for human error. right? Every single time you run a credit card payment, if you're processing that credit card outside of your exact Macola ERP system, you're having to create your order inside of your software. That's one step. Then having to go externally either to, let's say, a credit card machine or an online payment gateway like Authorize.net or CyberSource or PayFlow Pro. You have to then re-enter information about that customer and their credit card to process the charge. Then with an approval as a third step, you're having to go back and tell Exact Macola that you took that payment, right? You have to mark that invoice as paid so that the money moves in your software. So that's at least a three-step process just on the simplest of terms. This application takes 3 steps and grinds them down into one. One quick and easy step for you. Everything can be done directly within Exact Macola. We're really excited to show you how that works. We include client support as this application. So if you have questions as we're going along, once we get your team up and trained on how to use this product, if you get an error message, if you get a decline on a customer's credit card, if you have a new employee who starts with the company and you would like for them to receive training on how to use this credit card application and get set up, we have support available to help. Our support department is something we really like to brag about. It's second to none. You're going to see that firsthand today with Bon and Joey, and Gio, who provide support for this application. And we want to talk about the enhancements that we've added. So several of you, we may have talked with you in the past. You may have looked at our credit card module before. We always exhibit at the Exact Evolve trade show and conference. You may have run across this before. It might not be your first time seeing it. It's your first time seeing some of these new enhancements. We're really excited to share with you that we're constantly making this product better and better. We're customer feedback. Request a potential feature that you think would be useful. When we see that request coming from multiple people, we make sure that we develop that out of our application. We release it to everybody as part of the application. Started to mention earlier, when you see the demonstration from John and Gio in a few minutes here, I want to kind of outline what you should be looking for. There are 3 main components to our EBiz Charge Suite application for Exact Macola. First piece is just simply called EBiz Charge for Exact Macola. That's where you actually accept credit card payments within your Macola software itself. Once you've accepted that credit card payment, when money has been taken from the customer and that charge has been processed, you're able to look up all those charges using the EBiz Charge Gateway, the icon you see at the top of the screen. Your gateway is going to give you a whole bunch of great custom features. You can do custom searches. You can even change the different columns for reporting purposes to only reflect the information that's actually meaningful to you. So Gina will walk through exactly how you do that in a few minutes. Lastly, our newest part of this triangle is EBiz Charge Connect. EBiz Charge Connect is the customer interface. If you have customers who pay you on terms, people who are on net 30 or net 60, they're paying off an invoice after the fact, they will have the ability to log in remotely to a portal with your company logo on it, and they will be able to log in, view all the invoice numbers for the invoices they have outstanding with you, the amount that they owe for each invoice. They can add credit cards. They can delete credit cards if the card is expired or is no longer valid, and modify cards. The card has a new expiration date. They just want to update that. They can do so. They can update their address information. They have a whole lot of tools at their disposal, as Gio will show you here shortly. Some benefits to be on the lookout for when John and Gio are going through this presentation. Okay, the EBiz Charge for Exact Macola, a number of your businesses likely have repeat customers. If you're more of a retail front type operation, you might have customers who come in for parts or perhaps just a single one-off transaction where this wouldn't be as important. But companies that use Exact Macola we found are in the manufacturing space, right, or in distribution. Your customers are likely customers who are not just going to purchase from you one time. They're going to place several orders with you. One nice convenient feature that you'll see as part of this application is the ability to save a credit card on file. In the past, credit card information could be saved inside of Exact Macola or outside of Exact Macola, and it wasn't very safe. It wasn't very secure. We saw this recently with other companies, other industries, with Target, with Home Depot, with Lowe's, with Sony. There have been numerous high-profile credit card data breaches in the news. In fact, I was actually personally affected by the Target breach. So holders are understandably concerned about what you're doing with their credit card information. You need to be able to convince them that you're handling the information safely and securely, and you want to make sure you really are, for your purposes too, to prevent any type of action or to take that liability off of your business. Our application uses the tokenization method. You're able to save a credit card, and that full credit card number is even stored inside of Exact Macola. It doesn't sit in Macola. It doesn't sit on your server. It doesn't sit on any of your computers. You don't need to write it down anywhere. You don't need to lock it in a cabinet. The credit card number gets exported to our cloud-based Discharge vault. It's on our servers. With the liability for storing that credit card number, we encrypt and secure it on our end, and we turn to your Macola system what's called a token. Think of token as a symbol, right? It's a string of numbers and letters that's completely meaningless to anyone if they were just to look at that token on its own. It's a reference point. The next time you want to charge that credit card, all you'll see is the type of credit card that's being charged and the last 4 digits of the card, just so you can confirm that you're charging the customer's preferred card. As you send out the signal to charge that card the next time, send the token back out to us. We can rinse that to the original credit card charge that's on our system. We use the card, send you back an approval with the token. So never have full credit card information on your system. No one can access it. It physically doesn't exist. It's pinnacle of PCI compliance. There's a more secure method available today for keeping your credit information on file, which is a great feature to be able to talk to your customers about, and it's good for your own peace of mind as well. I'll let handle more of the specifics with Macola, but just a couple brief things. It does support O-type orders, I-type orders, and credit memos. You can press payments after the fact as well. Payments are automatically posted with your invoices. And most importantly, supports Exact Macola Progression, Macola ES, and 10 as well. So regardless of which software, which exact software you're on for Macola, this application will work fluidly with it. And several customers that are using this with all 3 of those major systems. Not to mention, a lot of our customers are using e-commerce, right? They have an online shopping cart as part of their website that's set up with BirdDog or Sniperdyne. We work very well with both of those platforms as well. We also work with many others, Magento, WooCommerce, Volusion, OwnCart. There's a long list of e-commerce platforms that Discharge payment processing work with. So to talk with you individually, find out if you do have credit card sales coming through your website, we can talk through that with you and make sure we get you a solution. Discharge Gateway itself, once the Geo takes over from John, be on the lookout for unlimited batch history. With all the other payment gateways I mentioned earlier, like Authorize.net, Pro, CyberSource, all of those payment gateways have some sort of limitation, right? For a year, maybe after 2 years, maybe after 3 years, the data is no longer archived. If you need to look up a charge for a customer from 2 years ago, you're not able to do it. Discharge, from day one that you start using this application, you will always have access to your entire history. The reason it's important is you can actually drill down by customer, the Discharge Gateway. So you can look for customer John Doe, every transaction that he's run with me since the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of you using this Discharge Suite application. That way you can keep track of how often are they ordering from me, right? How having any errors? Do I get declines a lot on this customer's credit card? Is there frequently insufficient funds on the credit card? Is this something I should be concerned about moving forward? All of that reporting is available to you. Easy to go in and issue an immediate void. So, for example, if a customer used a debit card and you charge the wrong card or you charge the card for the wrong amount, usually it takes 72 hours for that money to go back to the customer's card. You have an option in our gateway that Gio will show you where you can release those funds immediately at participating banks. That way you prevent those phone calls from angry customers that they can't pay the rent or whatever it is that they might need their checking account for because you still have a hold on their money. Right? So it allows you to automatically settle your batch at the end of each day. So without having to do anything, without any manual process, your batch will close for funding to your bank every night at whatever time you choose. It's fully customizable. You tell us what time you want to set it, and set it. Okay? Also has customizable reporting tools. So Gio's going to walk through a few features: your batches, where you see your daily batch, your search, where you can use anything from an invoice number to customer name. You can look up transaction very easily using the search utility, and he'll show you reports. You can build reports to, like I mentioned earlier, whatever criteria you want. If you don't care about a PO number or that's not applicable to your business, you don't care if that field's on the report, get rid of it. If you care about the invoice number, that's something that would be convenient for you to have on a board of all your transactions you've processed and something you'd like to export to Excel. Add it, put it wherever you want in terms of left to right on the screen. So Gio will walk through exactly how that looks. And again, with our Discharge gateway, since we can set whatever batch out time for your batch that day, net funding is available. So make sure you get paid as quickly as possible. Okay. Lastly, the Discharge Connect Customer Payment Portal. As I mentioned, this is the newest part of the team. It does all the same things that Discharge for Exact-Macola does. When your customer logs in remotely and they want to save that credit card that they're entering to pay off an invoice for future use, for the next time that they owe you money on invoices, they can do so. And that credit number is fully tokenized. They cannot unlock that full card number. No one can access that credit card number once it's been entered and saved. Fully CI compliant. You can use the portal however you'd like, but it does offer the ability to accept credit cards, debit cards, and e-check ACH payments as well. Some of our customers limit this to credit cards. Some customers want to accept ACH as well. You do have both options. You get a lot of terms customers who have your 30-day term or your 60-day term or what have you. They mail you a check. You have to wait for that check to arrive. You have to go grab it from the mail. Someone has to run a set of checks over to the bank. Then they come back and account for it. It's not involved in that process. It's much more streamlined. The customer can just enter their routing and account number in the customer payment portal, make a payment, that money gets deposited into your bank account. Again, it automatically will send payment reminders via email to your customers. So once new invoices have been put into the customer payment portal, your customers will automatically get reminders all at once. You're not having to send an individual email to each customer. You don't need to, invoice information into that email, a link for the customer to pay, or a phone number for them to call so you can collect from them. They'll get all that information automatically. That's time that you can spend doing other things. And like I touched on earlier, and like Gio will show you, we can customize this to your unique, company logo as well as your color scheme. So we can really make this look like part of your website, or at least familiar to your customers when they log in to pay you. We're going to turn things over to John Brennan. He's going to go through the Discharge for Exact-Macola part of our demonstration, show you how the software works in Exact-Macola. Take it away.
Good, thank you, Steve. So, look at my screen here. What we're going to be taking a look at here is we're going to be actually showing this as Steve mentioned. It works with EM10, it works with ES, it works with Progression. What we're going to show you today, we're actually going to be showing you in the EM10 environment. Because the bottom line here is that the access portion, the integration portion, is going to look the same regardless of where you are. So first what I want to do is we're going to open it up and select under modules. We're going to explore our core ERP. And you'll notice when we go to the order entry screen, we're going to enter sales orders. Sales orders just looks remarkably like the same functionality you would see if you were using ES, and as a matter of fact, it is. If you were opening up Progression, you would see the Progression order entry screen. Because I want to point out before we get started, when we talk about PCI compliance, when I first heard PCI, I wondered what the acronym was for, and it stands for Payment Card Industry. So, those of you who didn't know, now you do. The thing that we want to talk about that is also the fact that, as Stephen had mentioned, card information into this system here, you're not entering it and getting it stored locally. Going into the EBiz cloud, where you can't get to it, we can't get to it, and they can't get to it, nobody can get to it. What we've done, as Stephen had mentioned, we're actually creating a token. So you've created that token, then we're able to process cards for that customer. A couple of things I want to point out about that. When we get in, let's enter an order right now, and enter it just as if we were going to be processing a regular order. We're going to put it against customer 901. Now, I have to write some stuff down here because I'm old and sometimes I forget information. One of the things I want to point out here is now we have CC as the terms code. CC is really important to show as a terms code, and you can do it here when you're entering the order. You can set it as a customer's default. In this particular instance, it is set as the customer's default. This is what triggers the application. And so far, it looks pretty much like you would if in fact you're ordering just a regular order. I'm going to and we'll access just one of these. We don't need to do a whole lot of them. When we leave the order, what normally happens is nothing. You're done with the order, you're going to enter another order. What happens now with the application, and by the way, this happens with all the applications we talked about, whether it's Progression or ES or EM10, we have the tokens that Stephen was mentioned that are available for this customer. And this particular customer has 5 tokens, 5 different cards that they might want to be able to use. So when we select any one of these, it fills the information in as far as we need to build what the customer's name is and the last 4 digits of the card number, the expiration date, etc. I can select any one of these and it'll actually change the information. So these are the tokens that we have stored. Again, no place will we find the actual credit card number. When we submit this, we're submitting the order, we're adding the information to the cloud, and it's bringing back all the information necessary to process this order. At this point in the operation, we're really going to be doing simply the pre-authorization. And a pre-authorization simply allows us to encumber the customer's card for the value of the expected sale. I want to point a couple of things here. First of all, we populated this. We populated it with the amount of the sale, and there's some tax amount here. We also have the ability to put the freight amount and miscellaneous charges in. And the reason we would want to do that is if, in fact, there's some charges that are going to be added to this when it comes time to process the transaction, we might want to increase the amount that we're going to encumber the customer's card with in order to cover the entire size of the transaction. Also want to be able to do is we also want to be able to change that later in the process. So right now we're going to simply put in $100 for freight. So we're going to see is the ability to send an email receipt. Now this actually shows up on the token when we pull it up. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to send an email receipt at the time of authorization or at the time of capture. We really don't want to send it out necessarily at the time of authorization, but if we're entering the information here, we could actually put an email receipt in here, and it will carry through to the capture portion of the process. Look at the pre-authorization box itself. There are 2 methods we're going to be using as far as the pre-authorization is concerned. We've got one for all here is making sure that it's a valid card. We're not encumbering the customer's card for any amount of money. We're simply saying, is this a legitimate card? Next we have is the sale amount. When we click on the sale amount, this is going to be what we want to charge. And basically we're looking at here as the same amount that I have over here. In this particular instance, $1,006.92.18. The choice is here as well. We get the quantity that's ordered. Next instances where you're going to ship the entire contents of that order, that'd be the one that you might want to use. We also have the ability to use quantity to ship. This comes in very handy if in fact you're using back orders. At times your customer, if you have a $10,000 order and you're only shipping $5,000, if you make this first selection, you're encumbering the customer's card for $10,000. Customers might be a little bit irritated with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to select use quantity to ship. That quantity to ship obviously comes from the order. I'm going to get rid of this email address because I don't think I want Charmaine to get anything. So we're going to change this. The next thing we have is we're going to create the pre-authorization. Once you click on this, it's going to authorize this transaction and give us the authorization code. This authorization code and the reference number show up in EBiz, so you can actually, if you wanted to, you could actually go in and find this transaction now that we've done this, and it in the EBiz gateway. So we're going to do this, say OK, and now we're done. To do is we actually need to go in and process this, and I happen to know that this is a confirmed ship environment. So the confirm ship process. Okay. And you notice that charge. Well, at the confirm ship stage, maybe we know the freight charges are not the $100 that we mentioned. we're going to make them $50. So we're going to process this. Next we need to do is we're going to close this out, and we're going to go over and we're going to select the order for billing. And we're going to process 722, all items, date, and we have the ability to change the freight charge one more time. That's got changed. We changed that to 75 because, well, something else happened and something else came up. And what happens is we get the prior authorization. We have created an authorization for this transaction. We've created for $1,692.18. It may have changed a little bit, but we know that we have as much money as we need to cover that transaction to encumber the customer's account. So we click OK. We've done that. Our Process CC transaction screen pops up again. We have the ability to go in and we have the ability to change the sale amount, which we probably don't want to do. We again have the ability to change the freight amount, which was just pulled over. Let's take cash posting date. The cash posting date here says 1/19, and we all know you're not getting your money today. This defaults to the system date. If in fact you settle your batch, as had been mentioned a little bit earlier, if you settle your batch before 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, next day availability of your funds. Don't do it until at the close of work, like after 5 o'clock, for instance. You'll have it in 2 days, 48 hours. Now we have the send email receipt, and we're going to close. We're going to get rid of this again. I don't irritating my coworkers. And you'll notice the authorization block is gone, and that's because there is no more authorization. We're simply going to process this now. What I want to point out is, and this has actually happened to a customer, they had a charge for $990, and the customer had $1,000 on their card. Well, their $90 was accepted as far as pre-authorization is concerned. However, when it came time to charge the order, the ordered $200 of freight that they had not anticipated. The charge $1,190, and the canceled. It was disallowed because they were over their credit limit. Now, if that happened, you can get a hold of the customer and get another card, or you actually go back up here and click on the input retrieve credit and get another credit card to do that process. Now that we've gone through all of that, let's actually go and process this sale now. Transaction's been approved. So now we're going to use this. Look and see what that item looks like as far as an invoice is concerned. And put in 722 and start. What's done? What's that transaction? We not only shipped it, but we charged the card as well. So when we look at the invoice we're seeing right now, you'll notice if we go all the way down to the bottom, all the information regarding that, plus the fact that we've actually added the credit card transaction. We have the tax, subtotal, and the credit card amount. This zero balance invoice. So we're going to do this. And now on this, yes, the invoices did print correctly. Now that we close this, let's go back in and let's post these invoices. We're going to select OK. And send it to a disk. One of the third notice is that the posting for the invoices actually include a little bit of something extra. That little bit of something extra is we're actually posting the cash. So let's go to account receivable and take a look at that customer's card. And show it. Now the match functionality. And all down here it's 119. It shows that not only have we processed the transaction, we've also processed the cash transaction as well. So go in and match it up. And when Stephen was saying that it does release some of the transactional duties that are required if you're using another credit card solution, this really pretty much integrates all the things that you need to see and all the things you need to do in place. So let's get out of here. And one of the things I want to point out is if you have any questions, probably a good idea to put them in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those as soon as the presentations are done, and open up the system so you can ask live questions as well. So that's things I want to show you. And we'll click this. So process, and I type order. My type order simply does not require a billing process, and everything will look exactly the same, except you won't have to go to a pre-authorization. You'll just be processing the sale at that time. Credit memo works the same way. You'll need to go in and match the credit memo, however, up with the invoices that you're applying the credit memo to. We're going to take a real quick look, and we're going to go into EBiz Credit Card. This is an icon on top of the desk, and this is another one of those payments that Stephen was talking about. We're going to go in and we're going to see, let's for instance, go, and all the invoices that customer currently has that are still open. That means we're on other terms. It could have been net 30 or 210 net 30 or whatever. Your customer may call and say, listen, I have an invoice. The payment is due tomorrow. I want to pay it with a credit card. So we're going to do this, and we're going to go and highlight this. What it does is it selects the amount that we want to pay. We can multiple invoices if we like. We're only going to do the one. What we've done is we've actually selected amount to pay of $6,000, so I'm going to submit it. And look what pops up. What is up here is, as a matter of fact, this is the same credit card selection screen that we saw when we were in OE order and we were going to be pre-authorizing the card. That's where we make that card selection. Well, rather than making a card selection, let's go add a new card. We'll show you how that's done. To create a new card, one of the great things that we've just done is if, in fact, there is no card on file, this screen opens automatically to allow us to enter a card. I actually go in and I copy stuff in because I sort of fat finger things. So here, and select the expiration date. And then a CVV number. And then I want to point out, and we were able to identify the card by the last four, and that's called a card nickname. If, in fact, we wanted to change that nickname to something else like Billy. How they identify their card, or the person on the phone would identify it as that. We're going to now put in the address. It does require the digits. Zip code. And wanted to, here's where we could add, at the time of the card, adding it to the token itself, the email address. And this email address will carry through, and like we saw when we processed that last transaction. So we're going to hit this as submit. I'll have that transaction sent to the EBiz cloud, but I'm also able to use it for this transaction. You'll notice we have the sale amount, and we're not able to change any of this information because really all we're doing is we're simply paying the invoice. Okay, an invoice that already exists. So process this sale now. Done. So now that we're finished, we go back in and we need to match the pay we have up with that customer's card. You're able to do, if you want to separate the functionality of being able to add a new card, you're able to go in and add a card, add or edit a card here without actually being able to go in and process a transaction. And one more thing here as well. If we here, you'll notice now this looks pretty much the same, but no icon up here that allows me to not save that card. However, down here we actually are able to delete a card. So let's delete this card here. It's gone. Now, I should point out that while it's gone from here, there is no token. We've deleted the token from our records. That does not mean that the transaction or the card information itself does not still live in EBiz. Just go a couple more places. Okay. Is this, if in fact you're using WISIS for shipping and billing, we have the ability to do what we call auto batch. If you're processing a number of different invoices, what we'll do is it will turn this status into an A, and as long as there's a pre-authorization, it will show up here. If it shows up here, we're simply able to highlight the item, and we'll create the process. As soon as this turns green, that means that this card has been charged. Go in and print the invoice for 721, and it will show exactly the same thing that we saw on the invoice that we had already printed. Too much further. I'm almost done, so bear with me. Get in here and take a look at some of the things that we've been able to do. For those of you who may have seen this before, we have now a setup utility that allows us to do a number of different things as far as the setup is concerned, as well as far as your pre-authorizations are concerned as well. Notice we're in the merchant data. You will probably never touch this. You never need to go here. This is what we do when we actually set the account up. If you're going to change your bank account, you can come in here and change the bank account. Other than that, most likely you will never be here. You will never go here. Probably you don't want to do that. Next, the ability to set up utility where we can actually define our pre-authorizations. I want pre-authorizations enabled, so at the time of order, I'm going to enable pre-authorizations. I'm going to go through that process. There are some customers who don't want to be burdened by that portion, so we allow them to turn it off. In which case, you will never be able to get into the authorization again and never be able to do a pre-authorization. Normally people leave the pre-authorization enabled. Here's the default. Again, as we said, CC could be a default for your customer. We have some defaults we're setting up here for the pre-authorization. We have for $1. They always show up as $1. We can set it up sale amount. It will always show up as either the quantity ordered or the quantity to ship. If in fact you ensure that the pre-authorization includes freight, even if you do not know what that freight is. You always can either add a specific dollar amount by default or the sale by default. Also, if the credit card fails, if the authorization fails, by clicking this button, you can put it on automatic hold, credit hold. And we'll leave this as saved. Number of different items, and if you have any questions, as I said, put them in the Q&A section, or we can address those once we're done with the presentation. I stop sharing now, and we're going to turn this over to. I'm going to turn this back to Stephen. Are we?
Yes, I'll take that right back from you. Thank you very much, John.
Okay.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen again with everybody. As you can see, just walked you through the Discharge for Exact Macola credit card module. If you jotted down questions, we're definitely going to get to them at the end of the call, like John just mentioned. But before we get to Q&A, I want to introduce Gio for Century Support. He's going to go ahead and walk through both the Discharge payment gateway, where all of your transactions settle, as well as that customer payment portal we were talking about earlier, which we call Discharge Connect. So, Gio, at this point, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and you can go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Stephen. Perfect. All right, so hopefully everybody can see my screen now. You should see a web browser open with our EBiz Connect feature open on it. As you can see, we're in a web browser here. And the first thing I'm going to show you on this side is going to be where your customers are going to log in. So this screen right here, as Stephen mentioned earlier, can be customized around. So we can change the color scheme, we can change all of your company information, whatever photo or logo you'd like it to be on here. Your customers is going to be able to be set up with a username and password. They can log in here, see all of their open invoices that have yet to be paid. They can look at all the payments that they've made in the past as well. I'm going to log in here. Let me directly into this information page where I can make a payment on one of these open invoices that has yet to be paid. You're going to be able to pay all the invoices off at once if they'd like. You can also select a partial payment that they'd like to apply towards one of the invoices. And then they have a bunch of invoices in here. They also have the option to search by a specific invoice number. So if we did and we search right here and select this invoice with this invoice number. This invoice, if they want to, let's say, put $25 towards it, they can input their dollar amount for the payment they'd like to make, and they can either select pay by credit card or pay by check. In the credit card tab, your customer will be able to input brand new credit card information right here. Or as we mentioned earlier, they can also save their credit cards. And all of this is PCI compliant, and again, the token is saved off-site in the EBiz vault. So go ahead and select one of the saved cards we have on file. Go here. Just click on Pay Now. Through, you get the transaction approved. Customer can email a copy of the credit card receipt directly to themselves. They also have the option to print off this page directly from within their web browser. That, I'm going to go ahead and come on back to this Make a Payment tab. And you get that $25 payment has now been taken off of the amount due. This is also seamlessly integrated with Macola. So we can import all of your customers into here, all of your invoices, and then when payments are made, you'll be alerted and transfer right back into Macola as well. A couple more things that your customers can be able to do right inside of their side of the portal. They can do some of these reports, the payment history, and so be able to select the date range up top, and I can open this up a little more. Press screen, and all of these payments have been made for this customer. This right here, with all of their payments, can be exported simply by clicking on one of these icons up top here. That for their records. The next here is going to be the invoice list, which is going to be the same as the Make a Payment window. So, except for with Invoice list, you're going to have a couple of extra options added in. So let's open up this date range a little bit. And get back a list of all the open invoices within that time frame. And it's right here. If you'd like to, they also have the option to narrow it down by a partially paid invoice. They see the ones that are fully paid, or they just look at the full list. With right here, they can search through any one of these fields up top. They'll type in the PO number. They can search for that. Type in the amount or the amount they can look for it the way as well. In My Account options for your customer, they're going to be able to manage their payment methods. So if they need to change the saved credit cards they have on file, they can do right inside of here. You can also do that with saved ACH or checks. They can account information, make changes to their address, company name, anything like that, and they change their password. And all is just going to be inside the customer side right here. I can go ahead and skip over to admin side of the portal. And this login screen, we can do the same thing. You can edit it around and customize it however you'd like. So if you're going to log in using your username and password, there's going to be a few different options in this one than you saw on the customer side. So for me, you're going to be taken directly into your payment history screen. And up this date range a little bit to give you some examples. All the payments that were made from all of your different customers. This here can always be exported out if you need it to. To narrow it down by a specific customer, you can just select that customer from this drop-down menu right here. Only see transactions that they've run. You can see we have these in our demo account. In the Reports tab, you can payment history, which is going to be this screen here. You can also look at your invoice list. If we select invoice list right here and open that date range again, you're going to see all the open invoices that you have here. If you'd narrow it down by customer again, you can do that from this drop down. Or if you'd like to narrow the report down by the invoice status, you select this drop down and then say we're only looking for ones fully paid. We'll select there, and you can see it immediately narrows it down by the ones that are completely paid off. You can for partially paid, or if no payment has been made on them altogether. There's also the past due option, so you can get who still needs to make payments. These reports and lists can be exported out. Here in the Tools menu, you can load your invoices, custom user, all of these, but since all of that can come right from Exactmacola, just an outside tool. This right here, send login invite emails. If you select this, all the users that have been uploaded into the portal, and you select up here up top, only show no new users, and you can, if you send emails to all the new users, them individually. And when you send the email, it's going to give them username, password, allow them to log in. If you're new, you can also search for specific customers, since there are probably going to be quite a few of them in here. If you send an individual email, you can search through that customer and then send an email that way. On the Setup tab up top, you're going to be able to see all of your customers. You can edit them any way you'd like. You're also able to select the users from the Setup tab. And that's all the users in here. You can see if they're active. If a user has gone inactive or you don't want them to be able to access the portal, you can easily switch that off as well. In My Account tab, you have base options to change your account information on here, your bank information. You can change your password, and then also change the portal settings inside the account as well, including where the email gets sent from, so that your customers can log in. You change the email address that gets sent from. So connect portal in a nutshell. From here, I'm going to go ahead and open up the reporting gateway in a web browser, because you can open up this reporting gateway from anywhere that you can open up that web browser. Most thing to draw your attention to right here is the support number. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call anytime. All support staff is located in-house here in Irvine, California, and always somebody available to take your call. Go ahead and log in here, but we're able to set up as many different users as you'd like, and they're in the level of access they have. If you only want some people to be able to access certain areas of the gateway, we can limit that down, customize it however you'd like. When you log in, you're going to be taken directly to your current batches screen and all of the transactions that were run through for the day. Up where it says current batch, as Stephen mentioned earlier, there's no cutoff time or time limit. As you're processing with us, you'll always be able to access all of your previous batches. All you have to do is come in here and select a batch, view it, EBiz batch. I'm going to go on back to the current batch here. A detailed view of all of the information for a specific transaction. You can just click on the Details button. It's going to Transactions Detail screen. That's going to all the information you could want about a specific transaction, including related activity to that specific card number. So easily hop back and forth between transactions that were run on a card. Steve mentioned earlier that if there's an issue with a transaction, you could void the transaction directly from inside the gateway here. And you do that right inside the detail screen by clicking on the Void Transaction button. From here, you're going to be able to click on Release Funds Immediately button and confirm. And that's going to send a request to the bank to release those funds as soon as possible. If you do, you can also print out a receipt right from within here. You can email a receipt directly to the customer if you need to. You have the option to process a credit in here. On your screen, you're to print out or email any one of these batch reports. You can also export them if you need to. Even that, you could also customize this screen. If you just click on this Customize button up top, You can see all of these in the list that you can select, add in, or remove. So let's say you wanted to add in PO number in this screen. I'll check PO, add it in, and then select where I want it to sit. Go ahead and save. Then you can see PO numbers have now been added onto the screen here. Being removed, you can go through the same process. Down at the bottom, you can see the batch is set to auto close at 8:45 tonight. We can customize that to whatever time best suits your needs. At the bottom, you're just going to get a basic summary card type. So you're going to see where your money's coming from: Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover. You're also going to batch summary by source. So running transactions from Exact Macola, it's good you know it's coming from Macola. If you're running from the EBiz Connect gateway, you're going to be able to see that from here as well. Just little features so you can see the breakdown. Up next to batches, I'm going to go ahead and click over to the Reports tab. You're going to see Reports by Errors, Reports by Decline, and Reports by Sales. So I click on the Sales by Date report. You're going to see this date range up top. These are all the transactions that ran through. And this is our demo account. There are 42 pages of transactions. I'm going to skip to the end here. And total, broken into total number of transactions. You can click on a summary view of all of this. Just click on this checkbox, click View, and next daily breakdown with total dollar amount for the day, broken total transactions for the day, all adding up to that grand total again at the bottom here. Every the reports that you can run in the back-end reporting gateway, printed out, emailed, or exported if you need them. Back tab, Stephen also mentioned that if you have several declines on a certain card, you can also run a report that way, so you can narrow it down and see where they're coming from. Over inside of the reporting gateway here is our search function. Search here, and you're going to have up top the more basic search, and then down below you can narrow it down by any one of these advanced fields. Searching specifically for batch ID or transaction ID, you can always select that. Select, enter that number in here. If you have just some basic information about a transaction, you can type in the last four of the card number. And you're going to get back the result of all of the transactions run for that specific card number. Only know the dollar amount, you can also type that in instead. With all the transactions for that specific dollar amount. You back into the transactions details screen on the right-hand side with the details button, and every search that you run can be printed out and exported. Everything in a nutshell from the Connect portal to the EBiz reporting gateway. From here, Stephen, would you like to turn it back over to you?
Good.
All right, just give me 1 second here.
Go. Well, other rock stars before him, Ro, Elvis, Bono, Cher, Madonna. Everyone knows them by one name. That's how Joe is too. Gio, you're a rock star. That was awesome. So pretty much gets us close to the end here. We wanted to leave a few minutes for any questions that you may have written down during the course of this. And for this Q&A session, I did put back a little screen here so you can remember everyone who's been up this call thus far, so you can direct questions to us specifically or just ask them in general. And I want to just introduce Rachel. She's on the line with us as well. Rachel's been monitoring the Q&A section. So Rachel, whenever we get some questions pop in, if there are any, feel free to read them out, and we'll do our to address them here. And like I said, we'll be following up the folks that join this call as well to see if we can answer further questions. But what do we have right now, Rachel?
Carmen, a few questions here. first one is, can we process the payments at the OE time instead of billing? Or
John, do you want to handle that one for us? Yeah.
Sure. Normally what would wind up happening is if you want to do it at the time of OE entry, we have a little bit of an issue with that because at the billing is when we're actually going to be doing charging the card, and that's when it's going to affect the invoice. If you do it at the time of order entry, you're actually going to need to do it, and you should be able to go in and process a payment against the customer's card for the amount of the order, and then process a transaction. Then you have to match up the invoice with the payment. Those should be integrated at the time we process and post invoice. The only way to do that, at the time, the only way to get that done is actually prepay item. We're working on functionality that will allow us to do that, and it's in the enhancement stage.
great. Okay. We also have a question about when using the idle, can the customer see the terms, and what if they have a discount?
I believe that would be back to me. So inside of the EBiz Connect portal, you can see the due date and the invoices due. You have a discount. That's not currently on the list. However, any requests like that can always be sent over to our development staff. They're always more than happy to add in anything that you can see added to the features.
Great. I don't know if we know the answer to this question offhand. She also asked how many Exactcola 10 customers are currently running this application. Do we know that?
That's a good question. I believe we have over 80 businesses that are using Exactcola generally who are using a credit card application. Within that 80, I'm not sure the exact number that are using 10, but we can definitely up with a call or an email to ask that question with an exact number. But I assume, since a lot of customers have been moving to 10 recently, that it's probably about half. But we'll get an answer on that.
Great. Umang Patel asks, do we need to authorize the cards at the time we enter orders, and can we just the card after billing without a pre-authorization?
And you can even set, yes, you could even set that as a default. When you looked at the setup, you can turn off the pre-authorization functionality. You can disable that, which will then skip over the authorization point at the entry and simply allow you to charge the card at the time of billing.
Okay. Is best to not use the pre-authorization, or is it best to use that pre-auth?
There are some instances, and Bryce, even you might be able to address this, where we really do want to pre-authorize a transaction because we want to make sure the customer's card is charged, but also make sure that that we have all the information necessary to get the best rate, transaction rate.
Yeah, and with that said, John, to whatever your existing sales process is today, the goal here is to mimic the process as closely as possible and just add some savings and efficiency by integrating that into Macola. So if you don't currently pre-authorize credit cards, if that works for you with your process, like John mentioned, we can set it as the default to not even have pre-authorizations be on the table. You can charge the card on your billing. So that's not a problem. We have customers who do that today.
Great. Is there a place in the customer portal where they can send a message, for example, why they short paid? I'm assuming where the customer can ask a question.
So there's not a place directly inside the portal itself. However, because you can edit the email address that everything gets sent from, your customer can reply to that email and let you know that they're only paying a certain amount or they're only off part of the invoice.
Let's see. There's another little question. What are your support hours?
So entry side, when it comes to any support that has to do with running a credit card charge. So if we're talking about only access to Discharge, so either the pay gateway where all the reports were located that Geo showed you, or the customer payment portal, Discharge Connect, where your card holders actually log in to pay. Any question about those two pieces specifically, or a card that might be declining, or law information for one of those portals, we have resources available 24/7. Our business hours are 7 a.m. Pacific time to 5 p.m. Pacific time, but if you do have an issue that comes up before or after those times or on the weekend, like I said, we do have 24/7 coverage. And Jen or Rachel, if you want to talk about from the actual Macola application side, that'd be great.
Yeah, on the Macola application side, where our supports are from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. However, you can always log a support request through email or through our online portal, which you would have access to as an EBiz client.
Perfect.
Let's see. There's another question, and we are going over for anyone that needs to go and lost track of time. But I assume confirmed shipping is not a mandatory step in the billing process. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, and we showed you the auto batch piece, and that really does work with WISES. It does indicate here that you're using WISES. Once you confirm and bill it in WISES or confirm bill it in WISES, it automatically becomes available in the auto batch that we saw, and we're able to select any one or all of those items to process the charge. We'll no longer have to go back into Macola in order to process those transactions. Again, once we process those transactions, the loan turns green and we close, we're able to go out and print those invoices, and they will show up as a zero balance invoice. So if you use WISES, this works out pretty quickly. It's the auto batch functionality that we showed.
Perfect. And recording it for anyone that had a question regarding if we were recording this, and have this on by Monday for anyone to see. And then, Steve, did you want to briefly go over the offer that we had as well?
Yes. Yeah. So, in addition to all the functionality we've shown, hopefully there's some good value that creates for your company. We're excited to show you this luncheon with more tailored demo as well. We're actually running a promotion. We have Exact Evolve coming up here in a couple months in New Orleans, and we're all very excited about that. In preparation for Exact Evolve, we are running a promotion. If you send your most recent 3 months of credit card processing statements to us, that will enable us to put together pricing information for you on this credit card module. We can also coordinate, of course, that demo at the same time so we can go in and dive a little deeper with you. If you get those 3 months of merchant statements over here pretty quickly here, we will be taking $500 off of the cost of the credit card module. So when we get that pricing proposal to you, you will get a $500 incentive towards the cost of the credit card module just for being on this call, getting that 3 months of statements to us. Simple as that. So I encourage you to see if you can pull that data and get it over to us. We found for all of our customers that there really is a lot of value here, both on the cost side as well as the functionality side. So we're really excited to work with each of you one-on-one and hopefully show you how this works and help your process.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being today. We will be putting this online Sunday, and I'll send an email to all of you so you can share it with your team if they would like to view it. And then also, Stephen would be happy, as well as John, would be happy to show you a customized demo specific to your needs, because everyone does things a little bit differently. So I want to make sure that it works for you and your processes. So again, and have a great Thursday.